Chris? Dan? Dale? Thank you. Is that everyone? I don't want to leave anybody out. Oh, I'm sorry. Here we go. Thank you. Thank you very much. I will say that I'm always admiring of people that do stand up and want to run for office. It's not an easy thing to do, and we should always offer them encouragement and our prayers as they go along the campaign trail. Next, I'm going to bring up Diane Mitchell, who is our past president from last year, and she's going to read the rules and the regulations about our forum. Here's Diane.
Hey everybody, and another heartfelt welcome. We're so thrilled to have you here. We hope you will return and will discover that Republican women will provide you with informative information on a lot of things, candidate forums and issues. As Robin said, I'm past president and I'm current program chair. Greenville County Republican Women has made a name for itself for many reasons, but perhaps most importantly for hosting fair and informative candidate forums prior to the most important election in South Carolina, the June Republican primary. Congratulations to all of you for being here, because that means you understand that in South Carolina, our most important elections take place in June. Our goal as Republican women during candidate forums is twofold: to be sure that Republicans vying for office are holding true to the Republican platform, and to highlight Republicans in the race in their best light possible, while at the same time asking questions our members and voters most want to know. This is a delicate balance. We understand that, and we take it very seriously. Our questions have been selected with care and with prayer. One of the reasons we host candidate forums and not debates is because debates have turned into constant interruptions and equal time nightmares where it is rare for the voter to actually have learned anything. So our goal is to have the respect of both candidates and the members and voters by the end of this forum. So all will understand that Greenville County Republican Women is the place to go, whether you want to get your message out or whether you want to be educated on issues, candidates, or the processes of government. So let me explain the format and the rules to which the candidates have all agreed to participate today. The candidates will not interrupt one another when speaking. The candidates will observe the time limits, 3 minutes for opening and closing statements, and 2 minutes to answer each question. Our timekeepers, gentlemen, are Michelle Peterson and Diane Vreeland, which will be right down here with red and yellow paddles, which will be raised at the 30-second mark, and that's when your time is expired. Candidates will keep their statements to what they will do or have done. We have asked that they make their case without attacking their opponent. The last question asked will be what distinguishes the candidate from your opponent. And this is the only time that your opponent's name should be mentioned. There will be 2 questions that we refer to as our challenge questions. The ones everyone wants to know, but no one wants to ask. Greenville County Republican Women will ask one of these questions based on the concerns our members have brought to our attention. And for the second question, we are trying something new this time and gave the candidates the opportunity to submit a question that they would like us to ask their opponent on their behalf. Now that you understand the format that has been fully agreed to by the candidates, it's time for me to explain the rules that we expect of you, the audience. This is not a rally. This is the candidate forum in a lovely venue with decorum and respect by Republican women. So apologies for being specific, but we will not tolerate any outburst, boos, or disrespectful behavior. You will be asked to leave if that occurs. I may look like a softie, but hey, I'm a former inner city middle school teacher, and I've got a paddle. making their case before you, and we ask you to show them your respect. At this time, I would like to invite the candidates up to the stage, who, along with our president, will start our forum, and we'll get started.
Thank you, gentlemen. Everybody, check to make sure those microphones are on.
Test.
Good, because we want to hear you. Okay. Again, I'll be moderating the forum, and we'll get started with these questions. Hold on, let me get to my pages. Okay. Representative Morgan, flip of from the draw, you will start with the opening statements. Go ahead.
Thank you all so much for being here with us today. I have to say the last couple months have been really some of the most enjoyable times of my life, as I have been actively working and getting to know so many of you across this area, getting to know our district, Greenville and Spartanburg, in a way that I think you can only get when you're running for office. When I ran 6 years ago for State House, I knocked on 4,000 doors, which, as you can imagine, is a lot of time. And I made a lot of promises at those doors. Some of you in this room, I saw you today and you reminded me that you were some of the people that I knocked on your door 6 years ago. And when I did that, I told you I was going to go into state government and I was going to fight for you. I was going to shake things up. I was going to work against the establishment, the cronyism that has had a stranglehold over Columbia for far too long, and that I would go in there, fight for you, and I would change this state. Now those are some big promises, and that was a tall order. And when I got in there, I didn't quite understand exactly how big of a fight it would be. But I'm honored to sit here before you today and tell you that after 6 years, we have accomplished quite a bit. Especially in the last 2 years, we have fundamentally changed this state and moved it toward the conservative bastion that it always should have been. I'm chair of the South Carolina Freedom Caucus. It's something that I'm very proud of. We started it 2 years ago, and we had the simple mission of changing the state. And every single day we go into chamber, we organize, we strategize, we fight for our values, we put votes on the record, we energize and engage the community, and we get the work of the constituents done. Now I'm looking to Washington, D.C., and you know what? I see an even bigger swamp than we have in Columbia, which is hard to believe because we had a lot of issues in Columbia. But now more than ever, we need bold conservative fighters who understand our values, who understand what's at stake, and will go in and will organize and strategize and work every single day for our district, fighting for our values, defending the America that we all love, the values we hold dear. We need to be on mission. We cannot accept weak representation any longer from either party. Our kids' futures are on the line. We have to stand up against the radical left who are desperately trying to change this country. The question is, what will we do with the time we are given? I'm running on my record. You can look to what I've done for 6 years in South Carolina, what I fought on, what I've spoken up for, who I've aligned myself with, and what I have accomplished, what we have accomplished. My caucus members, my conservatives, the grassroots, many of you in this room, what we have accomplished together. It's a bigger stage, bigger stakes, more people. It's time to get busy, and I want to work for you.
Thank you, Representative Morgan. Congressman Timmons, please give your opening statement.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Great to be with you all. I want to thank Diane and Robin for putting this on, the Greenville County Republican Women's Club. Y'all do such a great job. It's been an honor to represent Greenville and Spartanburg in Congress. Years ago, I came before you and I told you what I wanted to do. I wanted to fix Washington. Washington's broken was my campaign slogan. I was concerned about debt. I was concerned about the economy. And I have worked hard in Washington to get results. It has been an uphill battle, I got to tell you that. But all the conservative groups have scored me top notch. I got 100% from Heritage Action. 95% lifetime. I have a 97% from Club for Growth. I have 100% from all of the pro-life groups, from all of the Second Amendment groups. And even Adam's kind enough to agree that I vote right. I vote right. But voting is not everything. You actually have to get results, and you have to serve your constituents. And we've done a great job there too. I've passed 4 bills into law in addition to 200 recommendations to change Congress. I passed a bill to hold China accountable. We'll talk more about that later. I passed a bill to save tens of billions of dollars, try to change the course of our out-of-control spending. I've passed bills to honor veterans and to help veterans that are re-entering our community. And if the legislative accomplishments aren't enough, our constituent services is top-notch. It's absolutely top-notch. We've saved dozens of lives. My cell phone number is everywhere. We put it on hundreds of thousands of mail and digital media that goes out, and because of my availability, we have saved lives. We've gotten people life-saving convalescent plasma during COVID. Recently, we had somebody that was kidnapped in Cabo. We were able to get her back within 24 hours. Someone's spouse passed away that was deployed to Iraq, couldn't get him home. I was able to cut through the bureaucracy to get him back. We've saved thousands and thousands of jobs by working with the Trump administration during COVID. And the best part of the job is the constituent services. And if you look at my record in Congress of getting results, of being conservative, and you look at my time as a prosecutor, as a small business owner, as a captain in the South Carolina National Guard, all of those things go together for why President Trump has endorsed me. I have crisscrossed the state. I have crisscrossed the country. Many of you were in Pickens in 120-degree heat. I was in New Hampshire in negative 20-degree heat. I have been doing everything I can to get President Trump elected because he is the only hope for the American dream to be passed to our kids and our grandkids, and that is going to be the most important election of our lifetime. Thank you all for being here. I look forward to answering questions.
Question 1, this will go to you, Congressman Timmons. You served as vice chairman of the Committee on the Modernization of Congress. You were proud of this effort. Talk about it. Tell us about it.
So again, campaign slogan was Washington's broken. And I was chosen as a freshman to serve on the committee. Then my sophomore year, I was chosen to actually lead the committee. And the mission was simple, to make Congress be more effective, more efficient, more transparent, to better serve the American people. 200 recommendations later, we're moving in the right direction. Obviously, it's not going to be fixed overnight, but it takes time. You have to invest in technology and best practices. We held dozens and dozens of hearings to hear from all these good government groups. Those changes are about 60% implemented. We still got more work to do, but the House Administration Subcommittee is continuing to focus on implementation of that. And honestly, it was some of the most rewarding work that I've ever done in my professional career. So I do have hope. I gotta say, I'm not optimistic about the future of our country, but I do have hope. And that's why I continue to fight. And listen, next Congress is going to be such an incredible opportunity. I believe that Joe Biden's performance is going to result in President Trump getting reelected. And he has acknowledged multiple times that when he first got elected in 2016, he didn't know a ton about government, but he has learned so much. And he is ready to cut out the rot within our federal government. He is going to overhaul the Department of Justice. He's going to quite possibly abolish the Department of Education. He's going to get these career bureaucrats to start doing the work that we need them to do to get our country back on track. And I cannot tell you how excited I am to work with him next Congress. To really, it's just about saving the American dream for our next few generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Timmons. This next question comes from Representative Morgan. Recently, Congressman Matt Gaetz tweeted out a video of you on the State House floor from a year ago during the Volkswagen electric car and truck vote that went viral. How did that come about?
Yeah, that video has really blown up. I think it has like 40 million views on different platforms. And the amazing part of that video is, I think the reason it resonated with so many people, All I said was representatives should represent their people. The debate was they were bringing $1.3 billion. South Carolina was going to spend $1.3 billion of our tax money in incentives and $400 million of your taxpayer cash to give to a private company to come to Columbia to make electric vehicles. A failing industry that President Trump has called out. Why are we wasting money on this? They had shut down their plant in the UK, but they were going to come here and spend our tax money to force all the companies that were going to work with them, we're going to have to be ESG compliant. So in every way, this was a terrible deal. It's not anything my constituents wanted, not what most of you in the room wanted. Well, I got on the floor and I opposed it. I actually voted no the day before, went home that night, and I got an attack text in my district attacking me for voting against that deal. Every other member of the Freedom Caucus got it as well. And so the next day we had the second vote on it, and I was pretty hot. I was pretty fired up. They were trying to bully people into flipping their votes to vote against their constituents' wishes and vote the way special interests wanted them. Multi-billion-dollar corporations and all these lobbyists who were just salivating over this project. And I went in there and I started speaking, and really I was kind of bringing the house down, saying, I am here to represent my people. They don't want this. This is a bad deal. Well, the minority leader jumps up and he actually said on TV, you're telling us we should listen to the folks back home over the experts in the Commerce Department? And I said, yes, you should listen to the folks that you represent in this chamber. And the crazy thing is, people saw that video and they thought, wow, finally somebody's standing up. And I just have to say, that is what the members of the Freedom Caucus do every single day in chamber. That was nothing new. That was nothing shocking. We need more of that. People who are willing to stand up and fight for our values.
Yep. Thank you, Representative Baldwin. Okay, this next question is for both of you, and we're going to start with Representative Timmons for this one. Republicans in the primaries usually use the descriptor conservative. How do you find conservatism? Are you one? And more importantly, what are we trying to conserve?
That's a great question. One, we're trying to conserve the American dream for generations to come. That's the core component. The question is, what is your view of the role of government? And I talk about this a lot, honestly, on the Modernization Committee. We're trying to find common ground on how to reform Congress, but it's really hard to do that when Democrats, they seek to use government to reshape society in their perfect image. And it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. Republicans and conservatives think that at every level of government, we should have the least amount of government possible. So if you imagine at the federal level, we need to fight and win wars, and we got to address commerce. That's pretty much it. But here we are, 200 plus years into our country's existence, and we're literally running a $3 trillion deficit. Every 100 days, we're adding $1 trillion to our debt. It's absolutely irresponsible and it's unsustainable, and we have to change course. So we have to get back to the core principles of what our government was founded on and stop trying to be everything to everyone. And really, if we don't change course soon, we're not going to have a country. And again, that's why November is so important. We cannot survive another 4 years of Joe Biden. I have voted against spending at every turn. The reason that many of you can't afford to refinance your house or buy a new car is because the Democrats spent $7 trillion. $7 trillion. And they alleged it was because of COVID or Inflation Reduction Act, most ridiculous thing ever. But what happened is that we got inflation. And now interest rates are 8+%. So that's only one of the many problems. 8 million people crossing the southern border. Energy prices, all-time high. The world does not trust us, and our enemies surely don't fear us. Thank you.
Representative Moore, do I need to repeat the question?
No, that's all right.
Okay, go ahead.
God, family, country. I mean, I think that sums it up. Our values as conservatives, they are rooted in truth. They're rooted in absolute truth. If you're a believer in the room, you know what I'm talking about. I don't have to wrestle and worry and fret about my belief system and what I'm fighting for. Like, I know it's right. It's rooted in absolute truth. I know that this is a right versus wrong, good versus evil, and every single day I'm called to be a light in this world. And I'm called to shed God's truth in this world, and I willingly signed up for contending in the public space. And we have a government, and we have ideals that were laid out by our founding fathers in our documents. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we have these amazing ideals if we can conserve and preserve them. And to be a conservative is to know that I want to preserve the blessings that I've received. I want to preserve the constitutional foundations of which our entire system rests on, and I will defend and fight for that system, because there is a radical leftist agenda out there that is trying to corrode our Constitution, corrode the American family, corrode our religious institutions. Everywhere we look, it's under assault. And yet Franklin said it best: we have a republic if we can keep it. And I'm going to be in the business of keeping it, because I got 3 kids, a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and an 8-month-old. And I have a calling to preserve the values and this country that I can pass on to them, that they can be the recipients of the same blessings that I've got. And every single one of you, that's why you're here, that's why you care. And it is so frustrating, year after year, to have people who say they're conservative, who even run as Republicans with the storied party that we have, that fail us at every turn and compromise with the left and even fund our own destruction. We've got to stand up to it.
Congressman Timmons, during your tenure in the United States Congress, you have spoken quite often that you view Washington as broken. Would you be specific concerning which problems you view as the most egregious, and has the Republican majority addressed any of these problems?
So number one issue is debt. $34 trillion in debt. We have done what we can to limit spending in the House majority. I've been in Congress in the minority for 4 years. I've been in the barely majority in the House for 1.5 years. I would say the biggest step that we took was the Fiscal Commission. So historically, when Congress has been unable to manage challenges, we've created a commission to delegate our authority to create procedural improvements to the likelihood of success. It was done in 1983 with the Greenspan Commission, and it was done again with the BRAC Commission in the 90s and 2000s, Basic Relocation Alignment and Closure Commission. Post Cold War, we had to downsize, and we couldn't agree on what basis to close. So again, I have co-authored the Fiscal Commission. It has been marked up in the Budget Committee, is currently waiting a vote on the House floor. It was passed in a bipartisan manner. And we actually also voted for this in September of last year. We're going to talk about continuing resolutions. I have never voted for a continuing resolution or spending with the exception of last September. And that's because Speaker McCarthy put on the floor H.R. 2, which solves our southern border, solves border security, the Fiscal Commission, which I helped write, which gives us the procedural mechanism to actually address entitlement spending. And last but certainly not least, it reduced spending enormously, 20% lower than Speaker Pelosi's spending levels. And again, I voted for that. 21 Republicans did not. And they said it wasn't good enough. So let me tell you what's happened since then. We've probably had 1.5 million people cross the southern border since September, illegally. And we've spent about another $2.5 trillion. So we have to make progress. We have to make progress, and we got to start sooner rather than later.
Thank you. Representative Morgan, is Columbia broken? Give us some specifics, and has the Republican majority addressed any of these concerns?
Columbia is broken, but it's getting a lot better. It's been getting a whole lot better with a lot of sunlight and transparency that we have forced, and it has not been an easy road by any stretch. I mean, they have been fighting tooth and nail. If you haven't followed the story, and I'm assuming there's plenty of people in here that won't know the story of the Freedom Caucus, we were kicked out of the Republican caucus because they tried to make us sign a loyalty pledge that we would never call out other Republicans for how they were voting. Wouldn't campaign against them, wouldn't endorse against them, wouldn't even post pictures of the public voting board on social media because it made other Republicans look bad for how they were voting. That's how bad things were in Columbia. They kicked us out, they ejected us out of Caucus, and then they spent over $1 million in attack ads against Mike Burns, Ashley Trantham, Alan Morgan, Josiah Magnuson, me, and the other Freedom Caucus members. Funded by lobbyists and special interest groups, coordinated with House leadership and the Democrats. When do you see a more glaring example of the uniparty? I would argue that you're not going to find it. If you listen to Glenn Beck or other people that really follow this, they say, we are ground zero. South Carolina, the fight for the Freedom Caucus is ground zero. We're leading the conservative movement. We're the ones that found out there was a pediatric transgender clinic in South Carolina, funded by your tax dollars, messing with kids 4 years old to 16, giving them puberty blockers and referring them to surgeons. Nobody wanted to touch that, which baffled me. So we went after them. I FOIA'd them. And guess what happened? We shut down the clinic just by calling them out. Then we found out there were schools that were teaching CRT, blatantly breaking state law, on video of women saying, I'm here to find co-conspirators to break state law. We just have to teach this indoctrination under a different name. We once again tried to get other people, nobody would touch it. So we actually sued those school districts and got the programs removed. Like, we've actually fought on the issues that people we got budget transparency for the first time in a century on special projects. We call them out. We fight the spending. That's what we need is bold conservative. We fight and win when we fight for our values.
Thank you. This next question is for both of you, and we're going to start with Representative Morgan. Washington never seems to address issues that South Carolina Republicans want them to solve. What do you think those issues are, and why are they never addressed?
I think it's a weakness in the Republican Party and a radicalness in the Democrat Party. I mean, the Democrat Party is a left-wing pushing communist ideals right now. I mean, that is what they are doing. Everything they're doing is undermining our values. They're ruining our institutions, and they're funding our own destruction. They're literally funding the invasion at the border. That's the radicalness of the left. But guess what? On the right, they're literally caving and funding that same invasion with a recent vote. They're actually spending money on the pediatric transgender surgeries, and on the late-term abortions, and on the invasion at the border, and literally allowing agencies to weaponize government against American citizens. That's what keeps us up at night. I know a lot of you care about it because you talked to me about it. Our own agencies, IRS, DOJ, being weaponized against us, targeting American citizens, undermining our constitutional republic. And yeah, there's not a lot of people in D.C. who seem to be taking it seriously. Well, guess what? In South Carolina, they didn't want to take it seriously either. They didn't want to hold DHEC accountable. They didn't want to deal with the transgender clinic. But when we actually stood up, even when our own party was attacking us and trying to kick us out of caucus and funding attack ads against us, when we spoke up and informed the public actually has a lot of common sense. I have a very optimistic view of our future. I think we are still the shining city on the hill. I just think we need more people in the public space to contend for our values and to show a bright American future and to be bold with our beliefs and engage and inspire the next generation. Because we have the answers. We have the truth on our side. And we need people who can go and competently and declaratively fight for our values and inspire those people to join us in the fight. Those are things that if we call out, if we defund those agencies, if we roll back those agencies and hold them accountable, they're going to change their behavior. DHEC's already done it. You threaten their budget, guess what? Use the power of the purse strings, the House of Representatives, to actually affect change. That's what we're going to do.
Congressman Timmons, would you like to repeat the question?
So let's start by talking about South Carolina. South Carolina has a supermajority House and Senate and a conservative Republican government. So we should be able to get good policy wins in Columbia, and apparently his colleagues have been an impediment to those conservative endeavors with a supermajority House, Senate, and conservative government. In Washington, we barely control 1/2 of 1/3 of government. We barely control 1/2 of 1/3 of government. Right now we have a 1-2 seat majority. It was 2 seat, now it's 1 seat. It goes back and forth. It is an uphill battle. It is an uphill battle. And how did we get here? I mean, during COVID, the Democrats broke the rules. They changed state election laws all over the country. Trump was polling great. The economy was going well. Obviously, COVID happened. And the Democrats used state election laws and federal judges to cheat. They use it to cheat. And now we have Joe Biden. And Joe Biden ran as a unifying president. He ran from his basement, albeit, but he said he was going to be a moderate, a unifying president. He has not been that. He is not running this country. He is not running this country. Obama and Eric Holder are making all of the decisions. And the people surrounding Joe Biden in the White House that control his teleprompter, these are the people that are not doing what Joe Biden said he would do. So, yeah, Washington is broken. It's very difficult to get things done. The system was intentionally designed for that. But I do still have hope. I have hope because I believe that President Trump is going to get elected in November, and I believe that we're going to be able to use the Oversight Committee in the House and use our Republican majority in the House to do exactly what Adam's talking about, to use spending to hold the executive branch accountable.
Thank you, Congressman Timmons. This next question is also for both of you, and we're going to start with Congressman Timmons. You've both taken different stances on joining the Freedom Caucus. Congressman Timmons, you are not a member of the Freedom Caucus. Representative Morgan, you are not only a member, but its chairman. Please tell us how you came to this decision. Congressman Timmons, you first.
Thank you. Again, I have one of the most conservative voting records in Congress. I actually have a more conservative voting record than many members in the Freedom Caucus, and I'm friends with almost all of them. I'm endorsed by, Marjorie Taylor Greene's not in the Freedom Caucus anymore, but Mark Green, the chairman of Homeland Security, Ben Klein from Virginia, Byron Donalds. I have a lot of friends in the Freedom Caucus, and we work together on anything that we agree on. And I found that my ability to be effective, to get bills signed into law in the minority, in divided government, is contingent on me being able to vote however I think that y'all want me to vote. The rules of the Freedom Caucus say if 75% agree on one direction, the other 25 have to go along with it. Now, that has not been enforced multiple times in Congress, but, I'm telling you right now, I will vote however I think my constituents vote. That's period. So, no, I have not joined the Freedom Caucus. Yes, I vote right. I will continue to vote right. And I think that my ability to be effective as your member of Congress is better off with me not being in Freedom Caucus.
Thanks. Representative Morgan, same question.
Day one, in any situation, but especially in politics, you better surround yourself with good people. Day one. Surround yourself with good, godly people. That's who you align yourself, that's who you meet with, that's who you strategize with. I'm a member of the Family Caucus, which is also vitally important. I'm a member of the Freedom Caucus. I will join both day one in Congress. The Family Caucus will lead people who organize and strategize in getting the heartbeat bill passed. Chairman McGravy has endorsed me. The Family Caucus chair at the federal level, Mary Miller, has endorsed me because I will fight for the conservative family, godly values that the 4th District believes in. I also will join the Freedom Caucus. I don't want to just be there trying to, maneuver behind the scenes. I want to lead the conservative movement. Like, I actually want to lead the conservative movement. When you elect somebody to these positions, you elect them to go and be your mouthpiece and contend for our values. We are the fighting fourth. That's been the nickname of years past. It's time to have a fighter in the fighting fourth. And the Freedom Caucus does not control votes. You sit and you actually discuss, you read the bills, shocking idea, which, by the way, most members do not. You sit around for hours and strategize and discuss, well, how do we move conservative issues? What's the messaging on this? How do we get the public engaged? Like, it's an intense process to be a part of this group. But it's the best thing that has happened to the Republican Party and to politics in general. We went from a weak, watered-down Romney era of Republican politics, where we literally had no difference between us and the establishment Democrats, to actually having the bold principles that are absolutely reflective of the Republican Party being championed every single day in the State House in Columbia, which is why constitutional carry was passed, Save Women's Sports, budget transparency, on, and it's exactly what I'll do in Washington, in the Freedom Caucus and the Family Caucus.
This next question is about voting records, and we're going to start with Representative Morgan. There have been some concerns raised with both of you regarding your attendance and missed voting records, so let's clarify. Representative Morgan, have you missed 393 votes since 2019? Are you an absentee legislator?
I have missed those votes, and yet that makes me have one of the best attendance records in the South Carolina legislature. We take thousands of votes, and by the way, the other campaign knows this. We take thousands of votes. I almost never miss. I've missed from illnesses because, as anybody knows that has little kids, we unfortunately get it from the church nursery and spread it around. My father-in-law died, as many of you are aware, and we missed some votes during then. But even with those missed votes, I have one of the best attendance records. I've almost never missed session, and I almost never miss votes. And I'll tell you one thing, I've never proxy voted in my life, nor would I, because that's insane. And Nancy Pelosi never should have allowed it. Ironically, if you compare attendance records, which you should do, that will be your answer on that issue. I have a fantastic attendance record. I don't miss. I'm very proud to represent the people of the District 20 and Taylor's and Greenville East Side. I show up, and I'll do the exact same thing in Washington. I will make sure proxy voting doesn't happen again, and if it does, I won't be one of the most proxy votes in the Republican Party, which has happened in our area in the past. I'll make sure that I show up, that I'm there, that I'm leading the conservative movement, and that people in that chamber, they know where I stand. They know that I'm a force to be dealt with, and they know that this chamber is going to be different because Greenville and Spartanburg sent me there. I'm not a go-along to get along kind of guy, as you all know. I'm going to fight for you. And sometimes the lobbyists and the special interests, and yes, even members of my own party are going to get really ticked and really sick of me and but guess what? We're going to beat them because we got the truth on our side. And when it comes down to those recorded votes, all those establishment guys and all those uniparty people, guess what they do? They flip and they vote with us, just like they did when we got rid of James Smith as a judge last week and for the first time we rejected a liberal judge. They didn't want to. We forced it, and we all voted together.
Thank you. Congressman Timmons, you stated recently at a county GOP meeting that you had missed 158 votes during your 5.5-year tenure in the United States Congress. 136 of those votes were due to mandatory military training with the South Carolina Air National Guard, which is highly laudable. But a question regarding your use of proxy voting has come to light. In 2020, during COVID, under Speaker Pelosi, House Resolution 965 was passed allowing representatives to stay in their districts and have a surrogate in the House vote in their place via proxy. 0 Republicans voted for this resolution, you included. In fact, you put forth a strong statement denouncing this practice. Yet, you voted 180 times using a proxy during 2021 and 2022, and only used a South Carolina representative for 25 of those votes. Is it true between 2019 and 2020, you were ranked 15th as the most absent representative in Congress and 25th out of 215 Republicans who used proxy voting in 2021? Is this an accurate characterization of your voting record?
So first, proxy voting is terrible. I voted against it. I am totally against it. Republican leadership said we cannot have people that are not able to vote. So every single member of the South Carolina delegation, except for Clyburn, used proxy voting. 80% of Republicans use proxy voting. This is a distraction. I have missed 22 votes out of probably 3,000. I missed 136 while on military orders. I don't think that that's going to be held against me. I don't understand how we keep doing these numbers games. I mean, we're not technically allowed to talk about. Look, I mean, if you serve in a part-time state legislature, and if that legislature meets from January to May for the last 6 years, there's about 260 days where you could cast a vote. And I think it's unreasonable for somebody to miss a vote on 103 of those days. I think that that's reasonable for me to point out. If somebody misses 100 votes on 103 days out of 260. I think that that's fair, and I think that y'all should be aware of that. And to use my military service to say whatever percentage, I think that that's really unreasonable. And I think that we need to be using the same data points. And look, I missed 22 votes, missed 136 while in military orders. I think if you missed 393, which is not even the number anymore, the number is now 402. If you missed 402 votes on 105 days, when you could have voted on 256 days, that's a problem. And so I think that that's something that voters are going to care about. But look, I'm proud of my record, and I think people need to defend their.
Thank you, Congressman Timmons. Now we're coming to where we're going to do the more challenging questions that Diane mentioned earlier. And just a reminder, these are questions from our members, the Greenville County Republican Women members, and from voters in the upcoming primary. Most want to know, but no one has asked. We're going to start with you first, Congressman Timmons. Our 3rd District Congressman, Jeff Duncan, is likely not running again due to a marital indiscretion. Soon after the 2022 Republican primary, a scandal regarding her marriage and infidelity came to light. Many of us are old enough to remember back in the 90s when the actions of Bill Clinton had the country asking if character was the important issue we should consider when voting. Perhaps especially for Republican women, this comes down to a matter of trust. Congressman Timmons, what factors guide your moral decision-making in your public and private life?
Thank you. I did get divorced last year. Sarah has been one of my best friends for 15 years, and she is still one of my best friends. It is extremely sad that our marriage failed, and it's just sad. So I have worked hard to represent the people of the 4th Congressional District. I've gotten results. I vote right. I talked to Sarah this morning. She wanted to be here. She has depositions. She's fully supporting my re-election. She knows my record better than anyone's. So I would say that her continued support of me speaks volumes. Look, it is sad that I'm no longer married, but yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you. Representative Morgan, you voted for a school choice bill regarding education scholarship accounts, commonly referred to as the ESA bill. And there have been allegations regarding a conflict of interest because the company you run would financially benefit from the bill. Representative Morgan, is there a conflict of interest here, and would you benefit financially from the passage of the ESA bill?
Yeah, no, that's blatantly false. My company would in no way benefit at all. I actually don't even think that's the exact criticism. I think people are trying to say that my relative's business, my business doesn't have anything to do with school choice. We run a Christian music publishing company called Majesty Music. Have you ever heard of Patch the Pirate? It's one of the largest kids programs, evangelical kids programs on Christian radio in the world, and it's a privilege and honor to continue that, the work with my father-in-law, Ron Hamilton. We don't have anything to do with school choice. I'm a huge supporter of school choice, ESAs and PACE, both versions. We need today we need kids to have the option to go wherever the parent sees fit that is best for the child. The money should follow the student. It should not be funding failed systems. I've been a big advocate for that. I support universal school choice. I think that's the best way to get there, to have the best outcomes for our kids, who it should be about. I think the attempted allegation is that relatives of mine would benefit from a program, which is also false. My brother and Josiah Magnuson, who both work with a marketing company that does some things with private schools, they abstained from the vote they didn't want it to appear that they had some kind of conflict. Well, they also got an opinion from ethics that said, yeah, there's absolutely no conflict whatsoever. Their company's not going to benefit one dime from the choice program, so there's literally no conflict whatsoever in almost any direction you look at it. I've been a huge advocate for school choice at the state level. I will continue to be at the federal level. We should be doing what's best for the children.
Thank you. Okay, these next questions are hard questions. It's from one candidate to the other. And we're going to start, this is from Congressman Timmons to Representative Morgan. On August 22nd, 2022, you voted for Representative Magnuson's amendment to the heartbeat bill that would put victims of rape and incest that end their pregnancy in prison for 2 years. This position is opposed by all the pro-life groups and overwhelmingly opposed by conservatives in the South Carolina District 4. The vote was defeated by a large majority of Republicans voting against it. Why did you vote for it?
I think that's actually completely inaccurate. I believe that was a tabling motion on an amendment. My record is crystal clear on this issue. I think I voted for 4 different pieces of pro-life legislation: the heartbeat bill, the full protection from conception bill. On the heartbeat bill, Chairman McGravy just last month in Spartanburg, I told members, some of you were there when he said that that bill would not have passed but for my work on that issue, one of the reasons he's endorsing me. My record is crystal clear on this. I have voted to explicitly exempt women from prosecution on 4 different pieces of pro-life legislation. I believe the amendment you're talking about was an amendment that Magnuson had put up that dealt with anybody that performed a procedure and whether or not they could have criminal penalties. And it was a motion of whether or not to continue debate. There were a lot of members who were asking questions about it debating, and it was cut short. But no, I've never voted for giving women criminal prosecution. And that my record is clear on that. I voted on 4 different pieces of legislation on that issue. We need to make sure that we are ending abortion in our time and also caring for all the victims in abortion and giving women the resources through pregnancy centers and the rehabilitative services for the women that have gone through this in order to deal with this tough issue. We need to put life foremost, and we need to protect women as well.
Thank you. Okay, this next question is from Representative Morgan to Congressman Timmons. According to the Federal Election Commission website, you have repeatedly used your campaign funds for luxury hotels like the Waldorf Astoria, expensive bottles of wine, and to lease a luxury BMW, all while you're using hundreds of thousands of dollars in franked mail, which is taxpayer funded during an election year. How do you reconcile using over $600,000 of special interest PAC money for personal comfort rather than to campaign and over $400,000 of tax dollars to campaign while you claim to be a fiscal conservative?
Thank you for that. So first, when you fundraise, you spend money to fundraise. You have dinner. You go on a trip somewhere to raise money wherever you're going, and that's just the system that we have in place, and there's nothing unethical about it. It's perfectly permissible. I've done everything I can to raise as much money as possible to get conservatives elected to Congress, to support Donald Trump. So look, there's nothing untoward about my campaign spending. As it relates to frank mail, I have 800,000 constituents. Over the last 5 years, I've averaged about $185,000 to $200,000 a year to give them my cell phone number, to give them access, to keep them informed about my positions. I'm doing my job. And it's a bizarre attack. And if you look at it across just the South Carolina delegation, I'm actually 4th out of 7 in using franked mail to inform my constituents and to make sure they have access to it. So it's a bizarre attack. I also just want to say I'm very pleased that Adam's answer to the last question. That he did actually vote for a bill that would put women that have an abortion in the first week that are raped or the victims of incest. It was August 30th, 2022. It failed. 9 people voted for it. It's Josiah's amendment. So I guess it is good that he didn't mean to do that. But I do think that that is an extremely important position, and I'd like to learn more about an accidental vote. But look, I'm working hard to represent the people of the 4th Congressional District. I have the experience necessary to get results. I have gotten results, and I will continue to get results. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Timmons. Sadly, this is our last question, but we're going to start with Congressman Timmons. You both have great scorecards from conservative organizations. So what differentiates you from your opponent?
Thank you. I mean, we agree that I vote right. The issue is tactics. The issue is tactics. My approach to being a legislator has gotten results. I've passed 4 bills. I've passed 200 recommendations. I've served my constituents. We're getting results. I am not the loudest voice in the room. I've never had anyone yell at me into changing my mind. I will continue to work hard with anybody on any issue that I agree on. And I am trusted by my colleagues on both sides of the aisle. I'm respected by my colleagues on both sides of the aisle. And my ability to get things done is because of the manner that I operate, because of the tactics. The loudest voices are not going to fix healthcare. The loudest voices are not going to fix debt. The loudest voices are not going to get our country back where it needs to be in the global community. You got to work hard. You got to get results. And I will continue to do that. I have done that. My record shows that. And look, I'm not doing this for a career. I've committed a decade of my life to military and to public service. This is not something I'm going to do for the next 20 or 30 years. And I hope that I can earn your support, and thank you all for being here.
Congressman Morgan, what differentiates you in your opinion?
I think you've heard it over and over again today. My opponent believes that the problem in Washington are the 21 people who are fighting every single day for us. The members of the Freedom Caucus and the Family Caucus who, yeah, they do speak their beliefs loudly. They also actually speak up and fight for their beliefs. They don't cave, they don't compromise, they don't behind closed doors pressure conservatives into backing down, which is what I have heard from members of the Freedom Caucus is exactly what my opponent does. In fact, I was even told that during the floor vote, he actually went up to members and was threatening, speaking for McCarthy, threatening to remove people from their committee assignments if they didn't cave on that vote with whether or not to undo the Pelosi rule changes, which had gutted the floor of the House so that members couldn't amend conservative legislation. And I categorically reject the idea that you voted correctly. I never said that. I would never even remotely think that. You voted to give illegal immigrants welfare just last month, which is insane. It's what's incentivizing them to come here. Has proxy votes after blasting Pelosi for doing it. Had sponsored legislation to push Green New Deal policies on our logging industry, and literally went viral pushing DEI, saying that he had secured funding for a permanent DEI office in Congress, and wanted all the hiring to be based on race, gender, and lifestyle proportionally for all hiring in Congress. That's a video. Google it. William Timmons, DEI. That's insane. We need to elect people who know our values. They're not going to make those kind of ridiculous gaffes. They're going to stand and they're going to fight, and they are going to be loud, and they're going to inspire others to join the fight. My record is what I'm running on. We have accomplished so much. We passed constitutional carry, we passed heartbeat, we passed full protection on conception, we passed the bill getting rid of DEI discriminatory practices in state colleges and universities. We've gotten CRT out of the classroom. We've shut down pediatric transgender clinics, and I founded the most conservative, robust movement in South Carolina history. That is why I'm running to be
Thank you, Representative Morgan. Gentlemen, comes to our closing statements, and Congressman Timmons, you will start.
So, Adam likes to take credit for things that he did not do. The conservative majority, supermajority in Columbia, has been responsible for passing constitutional carry, for advancing school choice, for doing all of these things that he says that he is responsible for. But that's just not the case. He is on the fringe of issues. He does not vote right. And he said in his announcement, and he said in mail or subsequent, and we'll get it for you, that I vote right. He doesn't vote right. Whether he meant to vote to imprison rape and incest victims, I don't know. Maybe he's changing his mind now because he did. I promise you, you're going to be seeing that. Josiah wrote the bill, and he voted for it. Josiah wrote the amendment, and he voted for it. I also want to point out, in the 70s, all of our textile jobs went overseas, to China specifically. And our leaders, 35 years ago, were able to incentivize BMW to come here. I represent 800,000 people. I would say at least 150,000 of those jobs are from BMW, from those decisions. So I would argue that he doesn't vote right on economic development. And So, voting right is not everything, but it is the core thing. And I vote right consistently. I would argue that he does not. And the tactics that he has exhibited in Columbia that have caused him to earn the distrust of his colleagues, to not respect his advocacy, is not something that's going to solve the challenges that are facing this country. We're not going to be able to scream and yell and engage in these theatrics to fix debt. It is going to take a bipartisan effort. We're not going to be able to get the economy back where it needs to be. We're not going to be able to secure the southern border. We have to do all of these things, and you're not going to do it by banding together with the loudest voices in the room. You're just not. My experience as a prosecutor, my experience as a small business owner, my experience as a captain in the South Carolina National Guard, and my record in Washington is what has caused me to be endorsed by dozens and dozens of my colleagues, including President Trump. I work hard, I get results, I am extremely accessible to 800,000 people. I have earned the trust of my colleagues, I've earned the respect of my colleagues, and that's what makes me effective. And that's what I'm going to do next Congress and help President Trump preserve the American dream for generations to come.
Representative Morgan, your closing statement, please.
I don't know that I could have a more clear presentation. Go back to the question you asked before. The idea that socializing and the private sector and being engaged in corporate welfare and corporate cronyism, that is something to be proud of and to hit me on when I am literally fighting for something that is in the Republican Party platform to end the waste of taxpayer money on socializing the private sector, giving taxpayer money from certain companies to their competitors to try to plan and develop the economy by government bureaucrats. It's just baffling to me, and I think it helps inform all of you. Like, think to your roots, think to your core values, what you believe, what you espouse, what you teach your children, what you want to see the future of our country. You do have a choice. You have a choice between the two of us. It's clearly presented before you today. I am thrilled and honored to be in this room with so many of you. Some of you have endorsed me, like Sheriff Hobart Lewis, and Congressman Ralph Norman, and some of the people I mentioned earlier that are in higher offices. And I'm thrilled to have those. General Flynn, Matt Gaetz, some different conservative fighters from different areas. But you know, the people that I get most excited about having the endorsement of, they all live in district, and they're all the local grassroots fighters. That I watched your faces. I watched your faces as the allegation that I've not actually been involved. That me and my group, we haven't actually accomplished any of the conservative stuff. I saw your faces because so many of you, some of you who I don't always agree with, sometimes we go back at each other, but you know what? I show up in district. I show up to people who I get along with, people that I disagree with. We go back and forth. We fight for our values. I show up, I speak up, and South Carolina is better for it. I want to fight for you. I want to fight with you. I want to lock arms with the fellow patriots of this area, Greenville, Spartanburg, and I want to take D.C. by storm with upstate South Carolina values. That's exactly what I want to do. And yes, we're in a contentious primary and we gotta, show conduct. But honestly, I just want to put myself on your ballot with my record. Go fact check everything we're saying. Go watch the speeches, see what we've done for years, and make a choice. It's your choice. Who do you want to represent you? I would be thrilled and privileged and honored to represent you. I love my work at Majesty Music and Passion Pirate, and I love my family, and I know that this is a sacrifice, as the state level has been. But it is a worthy, valiant effort because we have a country to save, we have kids' futures on the lines, and I want to fight for you. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please say thank you to Congressman Timmons and South Carolina Representative Adam Morgan. We're not done yet. Hold on, everybody, calm down. We're not done yet. We're not done yet. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, go. All right. I want to make an announcement that